Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to say goodbye to the series Titans. Obviously, the show ended a little while ago. So really quickly, if you're unfamiliar with Titans, obviously these are based on the DC characters from the Teen Titans, but obviously in this show, most, not all, but most of the characters are actually adults. But basically, you start off with Dick Grayson, who is a cop. This is post his era as Robin. He's quit, he's left Batman's side and wanted to kind of live his own life, and he's this cop in Detroit, I believe, I can't remember, but basically he meets this young girl, Rachel, aka Raven, whose mom was killed by some people that were after her, and she's developing these strange abilities. Essentially, it's this cult that's behind her. If you know anything about Raven's backstory and her dad, you can assume who that cult is associated with. But basically it becomes Dick trying to protect Rachel and kind of having, you know, eventually meeting other characters like Starfire, or her name's Corey, but Starfire and Gar, Beast Boy along the way, as well as many other like DC characters we get sprinkled in here as you learn more about Dick's past as a superhero, both his connection to Batman, as well as like his story with like other heroes when he's kind of going off and done his own thing. I know the show was kind of like very hit and miss for a lot of people, but I really liked a lot of the show. I just thought it was interesting. I know some people were like, oh, like, because it's a very dark and gritty take on the Teen Titans. It's like the show is very dark in a lot of its themes and elements, and also it can be bloody and gritty at times. But I really enjoy it, you know, because my only perception of the Teen Titans is the animated show from the early 2000s that I really enjoyed. So it's interesting kind of seeing these characters through this like grittier lens, and once again, it did not work for everyone, but it really worked for me because I loved seeing these characters. Some I've known better than others in a different lens, in a different way, and it's just this interesting growth to see the Titans grow, like the tribulations that they go through, what they've had to deal with, their own personal demons. And because I think that's such an interesting, because like everyone's running away from their own monsters, their own demons that manifest in different shapes and forms for a lot of the different characters, and to see that growth that they've all kind of gone through, both individually but also as a team, and the characters that have come and joined the Titans along the way, has always been this it's a really interesting journey. The show does this really interesting thing because it is set in the DC universe. You do see these blending of genres of like, okay, there's some elements that are very like grounded, and then obviously you have your more fantastical elements, and then your very science fictional elements and your supernatural elements. I mean, once again, it's very reflective of the DC universe, where you have all these different genres that represent the different pockets and places throughout the DC universe. I think it's really very interestingly represented in this series. I know a lot of people argue that it's more of a Dick Grayson show than it is a Teen Titans show or a Titans show, but still, like I said, it's not just Dick Grayson's journey, it's all these other characters too along the way, because their journeys have a major impact on him, because it affects him, it actually helps him grow. So once again, I see people's point where they feel like it's more of a Dick Grayson show in a lot of capacities, but like I said, it doesn't take away my enjoyment from the rest of the other character stories, because I do think their stories are just as important as his, because it's this very symbiotic relationship they have. Once again, he grows, they grow, and them growing also helps him. The show ran for 4 seasons. Obviously, like in the middle of its 4th season run, I think it was announced that it was canceled, but the show still wrapped up very nicely. Obviously, no spoilers for how it ends, but I thought it was kind of a nice and beautiful ending. That is just kind of one of those endings where you're just like, yeah, there's always more stories to tell, but you know, obviously we won't be able to see them unfold, but just getting the ending we got, I think, was worth it. And just the journey along the way, the characters we met along the way, I thought was really kind of neat. So I mean, obviously if you're a DC fan, I would highly recommend checking out, but even if you're not a DC fan, I think there's still a lot that you could watch a show and really kind of take away from, because I think it does a really good job of, like I said, it's, you know, not saying like every superhero property needs to be dark and gritty, but I think it's interesting to kind of take this property, which I don't think a lot of people would associate with dark and gritty, and kind of make this version of it. You know, I'm not trying to say it makes it better or worse for it. It's just an interesting take on these characters, and I think it makes it worthwhile. That, once again, if you're a DC fan, I would recommend checking out. But even if you're not a DC fan, I think there's still something you could draw and take away from the show and enjoy it in that regard. It's weird to say considering like the tone of the show and everything, but I still do think it is like a lot of fun and depth. There's a lot of depth to it. Like I said, the show ended a little while back, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of say goodbye to a show that, like I said, I really liked and really loved, and I know it wasn't like well received by everyone. The show has its fans, but I know there's quite a few people who didn't, and that's perfectly fine that it didn't resonate with a lot of people, but it resonated with me. And you know, I'm glad to have been on this 4-season journey. I wish we could have gotten more, but I'm happy we got what we got. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.